and welcome to the September Bookstream. We are doing Speculative September, so this is all going to be speculative fiction, which includes science fiction and fantasy. So we've got, as you can see on the table, a ton of books to talk about today.
It's a wide genre.
Yeah, like there's so much, and all of it is so good. Well, not all of it, they're bad books, but all of these are so good.
Yeah, we recommend these.
Yeah. So we are going to start off with time travel books. Specifically, we have Time Travel Loops first. So this is The Opposite of Always by Justin A. Reynolds. And it is about a boy named Jack who meets a girl named Kate at a party, and they fall in love, and then 4 months later she dies. And this is not a spoiler because the book starts off with him talking about the third time she dies, because every time she dies, the time loop resets to, or his time resets to the moment they met. So she dies and then they're back on the staircase at the party and talking again. And he figures out that he has to save her without destroying his friends and family's relationships with each other and himself, and I'm not going to say how she dies because I think it's supposed to be a spoiler, even though I figured it out like a couple pages in, but it was
supposed to be.
Well, it was romantic because he just is doing the most to save this girl. And if you want a book that is sadder than our next time loop book, somebody dies.
Yeah, it is sad. Yeah.
But still romantic, and is also from the perspective of a boy, which I feel like happens more in queer romance, but not in like straight romances. So it was unique in that way. It was a very, very unique book, even though we are going to talk about another time loop romance. This is called See You Yesterday. It is by Rachel Lynn Solomon, and it is about a girl named Barrett Bloom who did not have a good experience in high school. She was bullied, she was ostracized, she had a very bad experience on prom night that has sort of haunted her for the summer, but now she's in college, and it's going to be a new start. She's going to start over. It's going to be great. She's going to be a whole new Barrett. Except for the first day of class goes absolutely horribly. She
runs late to class. She oversleeps. A mean girl from high school is
her surprise roommate. She messes up her interview for the newspaper, which she desperately wants to do. Like, she wants to be a journalist. And
she sets a frat house on fire.
And she sits next to a jerk in physics who embarrasses her in front of everybody.
Yeah.
Almost everything that can go wrong goes wrong.
Yes.
In Murphy's Law days.
It was just horrible, and so she is feeling completely defeated after running away from the cops after setting the frat house on fire, because that's what you do. And so she goes to her dorm room and finds that her horrible roommate has locked her out. So she falls asleep in the common room, and then when she wakes up, she's in her bed on the day before, and her roommate is coming in with the RA, and it's like, this has to be a mistake, and she's like, what is going on? Is this a joke? Did somebody carry me into my room? No, friend, you are stuck in a time loop. So she relives that day, and then relives that day, and then she finds out that the jerk from physics is also stuck in a time loop.
Yeah.
So now they're stuck together.
And they have to figure out a way to get unstuck, or else they're going to keep reliving the same day over and over again forever.
Yeah, so good. It's super sweet, and like, it's
just very slow build romance.
Yeah, and like really romantic and cute.
Mm-hmm.
But also like
steamy.
Yes. And Groundhog's Day vibes. Groundhog Day? Yeah.
Yeah. The Opposite of Always did not have those vibes, which was really funny to me because I always expect a time loop to do
feel
that.
like
But
that, yeah.
no, I think it was because it was not just a single day, it was 4 months.
Oh, yeah.
So he
did
got
it different.
Lots of things to be different.
Yeah, this being, and it's the first day repeating and it having it be like the worst day.
The worst day.
Yeah. Very exciting.
Mm-hmm. So, third time travel romance. We were really into the time travel romances this time. This is about a boy named Andre who is just waiting for things to start because he hasn't been able to live life because he's been on the list for a liver transplant. And he's finally gotten his liver transplant and he's like really excited. He's gonna do all of this stuff. He's like finally thinking about his future, except he wakes up one night and he feels all shaky and weird, and then he passes out and wakes up in the past. And the liver apparently has time travel powers, so he gets thrust back into the year 1969 and meets the boy who lived in his house 50 years ago, and then starts going back and forth between the present day and 1969, and he meets the family of his liver donor, and it turns out that the liver donor had a younger brother, I think, who Andre starts to connect with, and I said this is a romance, so this is a love triangle romance. He has to figure out if he would rather be in the present with Blake or in the past with Michael, and then if he could even choose, like, or if he's destined to just keep swapping back forever. And
that's a hard decision.
yeah, he's like, as with any time travel thing, there are consequences to the stuff that he does, and like I haven't read it yet, but I'm really excited to because it sounds amazing. The time travel body part thing just is a really cool premise.
I've never heard that before.
Mm-hmm.
Very unique.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one I'm going to talk about is a little sad, but it's worth to read.
A little sad.
Just a little. It's called You've Reached Sam by Dustin Tahoe. I believe we pronounce it right. Yeah. 17-year-old Julie. She thinks she has all the future planned out. She has her boyfriend Sam. They're planning to move out over a small town and attend college and also spend some time in Japan. But then Sam dies. I'm not going to say how. And Julie calls a cell phone because she wants to hear his voice again through the voicemail. And then he answers. So I'm going to let you read it. See what you think for yourself from there. This is, you can see the cover is really pretty.
Yeah, it is. It's a gorgeous cover.
It's a beautiful cover. So
it's the two different colors, understanding, kind of like in two different worlds.
This is so sad. I read a review of that where it's like, I just could not stop crying. I went through an entire tissue box and I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in something to get your crying out, that's a good one to read.
Sometimes you need that.
You do, yeah.
And so another kind of sad, this is less sad. If you have seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, then this is a book that will instantly read as familiar because it is about a girl named Blue who has had her memories erased, her painful memories. She is a high school student. It is right at the end of the year, and she wakes up for school one day and things are just off. Her best friends are acting weird. They are like checking in on her. She's missing all of her photography homework from the entire year from her portfolio, and she doesn't know why, and nobody will tell her anything. And she has a mysterious note that says, "Meet me at the little blue bus on May 19th at 7:45. So she does some research and finds out that there's a bus in her hometown that she's never heard of, which seems ridiculous because she's lived there her entire life, and she doesn't know who wrote her the note. It's not in handwriting she recognizes, and things are just weird, and she is very confused by this. So it turns out that she has had memories of a specific person erased, and she goes on a journey to kind of reclaim her past and learn about life and like how the different pieces of your history make you into the person you are. And I am not very far into it, but it's really good so far. The writing is very like pretty. It's set in the future, so they talk about Moulin Rouge as a classic film, and I'm like, it is a classic. This is true, but it's not old enough to be like a classic, so that was kind of fun. I'm really excited to finish reading it, and yeah, it's a good one.
And also a really nice cover.
Yep.
Yes.
The guy is like disappearing because you can tell from the cover the person she had erased was her boyfriend. Like, that's not really a spoiler. Okay. Oh, Marrow Thieves.
We're switching up.
Switching to dystopian books now. Starting with the Marrow Thieves, which is a very small book, but a very powerful book. It is about a future after climate change and has created a place where plagues can thrive. So a plague comes and kind of decimates the population, and
Yikes.
yeah, the effect of this plague is that people stop being able to dream. So if you know anything about dreams, you know they're very important for your brain's health. Dreams are important. They're like, if you stop dreaming, you quite literally go crazy, which is what happens. And it turns out that the only people who aren't affected are the native tribes. So the white people, because of course it's the white people, this is just what we do, have decided to figure out how the native people are still dreaming, and they discover that it is in their bone marrow. So they steal it. Because, you know, it's the only way they can dream. And we follow a native boy named Frenchie, who is on the run. He's being hunted for his bone marrow, as is everybody else. He's found a family. They are all a found family together. Like, it's people who have lost everybody, and he is one of them. He doesn't have his birth family anymore. And they are trying to find a place that is safe. And it is really beautifully written. I almost don't even know what to say about it because I'm still thinking about it. Like, it's one of those books that you read and it just sticks with you. And I don't think the cover does a very good job of like showing how exciting and horrifying it is. Like, it really does a lot in a little package. It's very thin, but highly recommend it, especially if you like things that really make you think about the world, because this will.
Is it also a fast read, or it's?
Yeah. I had to take breaks because it was like a lot, but I read it in I think 2 days or something.
All right. Well, keeping on with the fun of dystopia. So this is Shatter Me. I have it printed because our copy is checked out.
Yep.
It's checked out a lot. It's a popular one.
It is.
So if you're looking for a meaty series that you will be busy for a while, this took up a lot of my time. So it's 6 major volumes, but there's also 5 novellas. Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, they're from like mainly the other perspectives of other characters. Yeah, so it's a lot. So basically it's told from Juliet Ferrars, who I think that's her eye in this one. Yeah. So she's 17 years old. It's like near future Earth. It's like not super clear what time it is. You eventually find out they're like somewhere in North America. But the point for Juliet is that she is locked in an insane asylum because her skin is lethal to the touch. And in the world, the Earth has been ravaged by climate change and war and has been taken over by a group called the Reestablishment. So, Juliet has been in solitary confinement for 3 years, which is enough to probably... So she's a little over the edge. She writes in a journal, and the book is kind of written that way. In the beginning, she writes a lot of things and then has a lot of cross-outs, which you can see in the touch. It's like, my touch is lethal, crossed out, my touch is power. But she then becomes recruited by the Reestablishment to use the lethal touch as a weapon. There's a lot of interesting sci-fi elements. She meets a boy who somehow can touch her without dying. So there's some romance there. It is really enjoyable. Really something to sink your teeth into. Yeah. So that's that, but I'm not done because I read a whole bunch of dystopia. I also read Matched, and we do have a physical copy. This is like the audiobook, but I recommend all. Actually, if you listen to the audiobook of this and the audiobook of this, same narrator.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Kate Sims, I think. Yes. But anyway, so this is Matched. So Matched is the society has taken over and they've created like a utopia where everybody lives until they're 80, but then they kill you. So like they decide everything, like who you love, which is like where their matching comes in. You decide that you are going to be matched as in married to someone. So she gets matched with like her best friend from childhood, which is already pretty rare. So then she gets this like matching chip to put into the computer port that they have, but then another boy's face is on the matching chip. And she's like, well, what do? I don't know, like, who's the right one? But then she starts to explore her relationship with the other boy and her best friend. So it's like a little bit of a love triangle. And in the meantime, she's starting to like question everything she knows, because is the society the utopia that they pretend that it is? So basically, it's also only a trilogy, which I feel like is good to know, because a trilogy is so much less of a commitment than Shatter Me. So if you're looking for like a nice romantic dystopia, a little bit less.
It starts and ends.
Yeah, and eventually you do also get multiple perspectives in this. The other books have some other characters in it as well. Okay, kind of moving on to our fairy tale retellings.
Yeah.
Starting with, I think, maybe the best book I have read this year. I'm so late to this bandwagon. This book has been out since like 2011 or something.
It's so popular.
It is so good.
It's so good.
Just read all of them. I'm sorry, I'm not even telling you about the book, I'm just telling you how good it is. So this is Cinder by Marissa Meyer. Cinder is the first book of the Lunar Chronicles, and there are 4-ish, and then there's like 2 novellas. And then, so this is like a sci-fi fairy tale Cinderella story. So Cinderella's a cyborg, in New Beijing. It's incredible, but she's like the best mechanic in the whole city, and her stepmom really is like evil. And then like she meets Prince Kai, who's the best, and he wants her to fix his like personal android. And Cinder's stepmother is like, why are you here? And there's this whole thing about cyborgs are like second-class citizens in this like society of New Beijing, and also like on Earth. But they're also being plagued by like this pandemic of like leishmaniasis is the disease. So Cinder begins to realize like there's a lot she doesn't know, but she might have a key to saving the world. So she's super sarcastic and independent. It's like a super feminist retelling of Cinderella. It's super funny. The books just like get better and better each time. They add more characters. It ends up being Little Red Riding Hood, Rapunzel, and Snow White are the other like retellings. But it's the best approaches to fairy tales. One of the best approaches to fairy tales that I've ever read. Side note, the audiobook narrator is like so good. She does all the voices. I mean, I know that's what they're supposed to do, but it's so like she's won awards. It's so good. So I was really impressed. Just read it if you haven't read it. Just read it, even if you think you don't like sci-fi or you don't like fantasy or one or the other. This is a genre blend.
You don't like fairy tales, or you think Cinderella is just for girls.
It's everything. It has something for everyone. Yep. Yeah. Okay, I'm officially done with this.
There's a reason why it's always checked out.
Yes, yeah. I can't believe it was here.
So now I'm gonna talk about this is a fantasy queer fiction set in a snow-covered kingdom. So if you miss the winter and you want to be in a cold setting, this is a book for you. Other than that, the two girls that you see on the cover are actually monsters. And they are disguised as two innocent girls. And they descend upon the royal city, and they discover they might be falling for each other. But they are actually after they compete for the pure heart of a prince. Because the pure heart of a prince has a lot of power. So whoever gets his heart will gain a lot of power. But there's different ways to get his heart. And that's what you will find out in the book. Okay.
Monster Girls.
Yes. This is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. This is the first of three. It's the Folk of Air trilogy. So this story is told from the perspective of Jude Duarte, she lives in the mythical world of fairy, among the fairies, but she is a human. So she is despised and tormented by basically all of her classmates, especially Prince Carden, who is a cruel prince. He's just a bully. But she really wants to, she's like almost at the end of her schooling, she wants to secure her life in the society of like a fairy because she doesn't know anything else. So it's a really complex world of magic. It's like really morally conflicted heroes. There's some romancy stuff, which you might guess. And it's a completed series, which I feel like is a plus. And only 3. So you should check it out. Yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry. That is me, and I said I would know. Okay, so this is actually I think this is the last in the series, but this is from the trilogy of A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. The first one has like a bluish cover. Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay.
They're all really pretty covers.
They are very. And it is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. So Harper is a modern girl from Washington, D.C., and she is pulled from her world into Emberfall, which is like a parallel world to ours. And in Emberfall, Prince Ren, who is the beast in this universe, has been cursed by an evil enchantress named Lilith to continue repeating the same season of his 18th birthday. He turns into a beast as the season progresses, and so he only has like a certain amount of weeks to get this girl to fall in love with him, and he's failed like over 300 times. And this is his last season, because of course it is. So they get off on kind of shaky footing because of the whole like kidnapping situation. And then it's like very funny and it's cute and clever. And there's also like Emberfall has like kind of fallen into disarray because Prince Ren has been off like trying to break the curse. So there's a lot going on, a lot for these characters. Yeah.
And who doesn't like Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's a tale as old as time, some might say. You might say that. Speaking of Beauty and the Beast, now for something completely different. Just kidding. This is also a Beauty and the Beast retelling. A Court of Thorns and Roses. It is so popular, there was just no way that it would be it would be checked in. It is checked out. It's always checked out. We have like 3 copies in the library. At least 1 in the sci-fi section, 2 in YA, maybe 3. This is basically the start of, I think there are 6 books, 5 books. 5 books now. 4 books and a novella. Okay, So if you haven't heard of these books, you're obviously not on the book top, and that's okay. It's unfinished, but it's pretty complete in the original story. So it starts off with a human huntress named Feyre, who is dragged from the human lands only to learn that to live with the fairies, the Fae, and they're being terrorized by this beast or this like bad power. So it's a pretty loose adaptation of Beauty and the Beast. I would say the curse of So Dark and Lonely follows a little more closely to the fairy tale we kind of know. So Feyre learns that the beast is actually like this High Lord of the fairies of the Spring Court, and there's this like mysterious unnamed evil, and it ends up being up to Feyre to find out how to like save him from his curse, but also fairyland. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. There are really great villains in this book.
Love a good villain.
And the series is incredible. I actually was sad when the books ended. I was still thinking about them for a long time. I like couldn't get over it. Anyway, yeah, I'm just excited to go reread them again because I'm sure I've forgotten things. Morally ambiguous characters, great villains, excellent heroism. Yes. Read it!
Alright, we are going to the Dark Woods. Actually, the Drowned Woods. And here, this is by Emily Lloyd-Jones, and it's a dark fairy tale. 18-year-old Mare is the last living water diviner, which I did not really know what it means, but after you read the book, you'll find out. Something that has to do with water magic. And she has spent years running from the prince, who bound her into his service. Under the prince's orders, she located the wells of his enemies, and he poisoned them without her knowledge, causing hundreds of deaths. After discovering what he had done, Mare tries to disappear from his reach because she doesn't want to be under his rule anymore. Obviously, she wants to be free. And then her old handler returns with a proposition. Use her powers to bring down the prince. Well, let's see what happens.
Okay, so now we are going on to retellings of not fairy tales. We're going to do My Imaginary Mary, which is part of the Lady Janie's series, but it is a complete and total standalone. You don't have to read any of the others because I have not read any of the others and I followed it. This is a very fun book. It is about Mary Shelley, except not like anybody has ever known her. This is about Mary Shelley as a younger teenager than she was when she wrote Frankenstein. And in the world of the book, she is best friends with Ada Lovelace. And that was not real. Like, this is something that the authors were like,
wouldn't that be cool?
Wouldn't that be cool? And the fun thing about it is that there is a lot of fourth wall breaking, so like the authors are putting their own notes in, and they have very humorous takes on things. Very funny things. So it turns out that both Mary and Ada are something called, I think it was Fae, but not like fairy fae. It's just somebody who can use magic, and specifically imagination magic. So like you imagine something and it happens, and they start training, and while they are training, Ada is building an automaton because she wants to show up her mentor, who used her calculations to build an automaton and was showing it off as his own work, like all his, nobody else's. And she was very angry about that, so she's like, I'm going to build a better automaton than that one, and so she did. And Ada has trouble with the Fae magic, but Mary is a natural. She's so good at it. So there is a man who is obsessed with trying to bring frogs back to life. And he is showing off the fact that electricity will bring the frogs back just by, like, he shocks the dead frog and the legs twitch. And it's alive! Except not really. Like, it's just the electrical impulses making it go like, whoop. So he's doing a demonstration of this, and both Ada and Mary are in attendance, and then Mary's looking at the dead frog, and she's like, this is so sad that the frog is dead, and she doesn't know that she can use magic yet, and she accidentally brings the frog to life. And so this guy thinks that he did it with the electricity, and now he is convinced that he actually has the power to do that, so he is trying to recreate his successful experiment, but he's like, I'm missing the pieces. I need to go through and find all of the people who were there, and this brings him back in contact with Ada and Mary, and he is the bad guy. And it's a very complicated book. It's a Frankenstein retelling, kind of, because they end up bringing the automaton to life, and then they get in trouble, and then they need to go find the Lord Byron, and a lot of stuff happens that is definitely not historically accurate, but it's very, very fun. It's a huge, long book, and I read it in a night because I was so invested in it. It was just tons of fun and very much in the spirit of creativity and creation, and
so it's definitely a page turning.
Yeah, like, but just very fun. So
nice.
They have really nice covers for the whole series.
Yeah.
They do.
Back.
They're all really pretty, and I have not read any of the others, as I mentioned, but I heard that they were fantastic, so I'm excited to go back and read them.
Does she put the fiction in science fiction?
She does put the fiction in science fiction. She also created a monster.
Yeah.
Has very high expectations.
Okay, another retelling non-fairy tale edition is Once in Future. So this is a reference to another Arthurian book, Once in Future King, which is an Arthur book, another sci-fi book. This is, it is really more sci-fi than fantasy, but it's kind of both. And it's a queer King Arthur sci-fi retelling. I didn't know I needed this, but I did. I needed it. So instead of Arthur, we have Ari, who she crash lands on old Earth because no one lives on Earth anymore. It's like become a trash planet. Yeah.
That's pretty grim.
And she pulls a magic sword from its ancient resting place. And then that makes her the new King Arthur, the next reincarnation of King Arthur. She meets Merlin, who has aged backwards, and now he is a teenager. And together they have to break the curse to keep Arthur from coming back. So the quest, as Merlin is like, there's always a quest. There's this cruel, oppressive, like, corporation that's basically taken over all the people who live in space. And so he's like, this is what we will do. We will defeat the corporation. So it's very genre blendy, world building, and also has a gay teenage Merlin. It's very good. They, like, Guinevere lives on the planet of Lionel, and, like, they dress up in medieval clothes for fun. It's very good.
It's another one that's just fun.
It's so fun. It's hilarious. If you're looking for, it's short. It's a duology. If you want, like, the complete, only the first one is also just a fun read. Yeah, it's very hilarious and good.
Okay, so we're sticking with the theme of horrible corporations and trash planets.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got the first book in the Illuminati Files, which is just called Illuminati, and it is told in the form of a debriefing, because there was a disaster on a planet that a corporation owned, but they were not supposed to own it. It's like a secret planet, and it's a mining planet because they're looking for minerals to do resources. So what happens is there are two rival mega corporations, and they're at war over this tiny little planet, which is where Katie and Ezra live, and they have just broken up that morning, and they're like, this is the worst day. And it really is the worst day, because then their planet gets invaded by the other mega corporation, and they have to evacuate on these warships. A whole bunch of people don't make it. It's very sad. And they end up having to work together to get on the ship, and then they are on the ship, and then things start going wrong. Something has broken out and is mutating people, and they're being chased by the enemy warship, and they need to make it to a gate to get, like, a wormhole gate to get to the rest of society, and they have a potentially rogue artificial intelligence system. There's just so much going on, and the entire thing is, like, in the court case about the attack on the planet. So you know that it ends, but, like, you will be on the edge of your seat trying to figure out how it gets to the ending. This is a trilogy, and all three of them are in the, like, hacked document format, which is just very interesting and fun. This one had space adventure. It had some really fantastic horror elements. It has romance. It has more romance. It's got, if you like rogue AIs, then there's just, if you like something, it's probably in this book. It's a really, really fun read. And still, Trash Planet. The Darkness Outside Us is about two boys named Ambrose and Kodiak, and they are, I just got distracted because one of the authors who gave a blurb on the back of this book is somebody that my mom knew when she was a kid. Oh, so, hey, cool. But these two boys are alone in space. They, there was a distress signal where Ambrose's sister was supposed to go off to, a Goldilocks planet, I think. No, she was going to one of the moons of Jupiter or Saturn, to try to do some like basic terraforming and set up a colony. And she sends out a distress signal, and the two nations that are left on the world band together to send these two boys into space to rescue her. And the thing is that these two countries are like constantly at war. Like they're just really at each other's throats all the time. So these two boys who wake up in the spaceship and they don't know what's going on because something went wrong with the takeoff, and they don't know what, but they can't remember it. All they know is that they woke up and they were told that they had to work together to complete some repairs, otherwise they wouldn't be able to make it to the moon to save his sister. So Ambrose and Kodiak have to work together. They become attracted to each other and slowly fall in love over the course of the thing, and it's not over the course of the entire book, it's over the course of like the first part, because there is a huge twist in the middle of this book that I did not see coming. And then there are more twists, and like if you think you know where it's going, you absolutely do not. It is just one of the most mind-boggling books I have read in recent memory. Like I just was sitting there like, what? The entire time. It was a good what. It was like, this is so bonkers and fun, but the book itself is like really kind of sad and serious, while still being fun. It's crazy. There's just a lot going on. So
if you're looking into...
Yeah, like if you want a space adventure that is truly unexpected and goes in ways that I'm not even going to talk about because that would be huge spoilers, then you definitely want this one. If you want a really sweet love story, you want this book. If you are just into like the basics of repairing spaceships, then you would probably want this book because they talk about that a lot, and it was actually really interesting. Yeah, it's a great one.
The cover's great.
It is. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Just like the book. Okay. So we've got another beautiful spaceship getting off of the trash planet of Earth. This is the Last Contista, and it's technically a children's book. It won the Newbery for good reason. It's phenomenal, but I'm talking about it here because I really feel like people who are not children will appreciate it the most. So this is about a girl named Petra Pena who wants to be a storyteller just like her grandmother. But the thing is that Halley's Comet has sort of gone off its route and is coming straight at planet Earth and is going to hit it and completely destroy it, and everybody's going to die, and it's horrible. So Petra's family, but not her grandmother, are some of the lucky people, because her parents are scientists, to make it onto one of the vessels that is going to find a Goldilocks planet. And they are very serious about this mission. They know that it is, like, they are the ones who have to continue the human race. And Petra's like, okay, so I'm going to bring all the stories with me, and I will tell the stories, and in that way they will continue and things will be okay. But then hundreds of years later, she wakes up and she's on the ship, and this weird political extremist group has taken over. They have decided that differences must all be wiped out because that is the source of all conflict. and everybody must be the same, they must look the same, they must have the same language, definitely not stories, don't believe in stories. So they are waking people up slowly and wiping their memories and using them for their scientific skills. Except the memory wipe doesn't work on Petra. So she still remembers everything. And she is going through the like science steps with the other kids. They woke up and like finds out a lot of sneaky stuff. I think they woke them up because they reached a planet and they needed to see if the planet could support human life. And then it just kind of gets more involved from there. This was another one that, like, much like the Marrow Thieves, after I read it, I just had to stop and, like, just stare off into space for a while because it was really powerful. This is probably one of the best books I've read this year. Like, I absolutely loved it. I wouldn't have read it if it hadn't gotten the Newbery. I would not have read it because I, like, didn't hear about it. And I'm really glad it did because I'm really glad I read it. Highly recommend it to everybody. It does not go where you think it's going to go ever.
So Petra needs to save the universe?
Yeah, basically. Because this political extremist group is set on wiping out all differences, and she's like, but the stories are so beautiful. Who is going to continue the stories if they wipe it out? And it's like the power of stories, and then also space, and just everything. It's so good. So good.
Well, we're gonna finish off with it's just a great sci-fi book.
Yep.
And we didn't know where to put it, but it is also just yeah. Okay, so this is Warcross by Marie Lu. This is like if a company that combined like Nintendo and Apple were taking over the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So essentially Warcross is a virtual reality game invented by this billionaire named Hideo Tanaka. It has worldwide interest and appeal. Like the entire world, especially like in Tokyo where Hideo is from, like has been customized to this game. Like people sell things via the game, and like everything is like virtual reality, like decked out in virtual reality. So in the meantime, our heroine of this book is Amika Chen, she's a computer hacker. She's like really, really smart and savvy, but she's been working as a bounty hunter trying to find people doing illegal things on the game, just to make ends meet because her dad died and left her with a lot of debt. So she does this crazy hack during the opening ceremonies. Everyone is watching the opening ceremonies of like the championship of Warcross. And she accidentally puts herself like there. So then Hideo Tanaka is like, I would really love it if you could like come to Tokyo because no one's done that. And he gives her a job. He's like, hey, I would really like it if you would come to Tokyo, play in the international games, and also there's some like other sketchy stuff happening, and we want you to figure out what's going on. So she's working for this like really smart, brilliant guy. It's very adventurous. It has a lot of ethical questions about like what is worth the cost to make something that's this exciting and this good. And it's part of a duology, so it's just these two. The covers are really beautiful, I think.
Yeah. It's a really interesting duology because the two books are nothing alike. Like,
yes.
Like, the first one is entirely virtual reality. If you read Ready Player One and liked it, then Warcross is definitely the book for you. And then
Wild Card.
Wild Card is really a wild card. Like,
yes.
I don't even know how to describe it.
There's so many twists and turns.
It's like, and a lot of people were really disappointed, but I was not because
No.
I love a good like switcheroo.
Surprise.
Yeah, because I read all genres, so it's still sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like what happens after one of the big twists in Warcross, so like we can't talk too much about it.
Yeah.
But like it's just
Marie Lu writes really, really well. Like, her grasp of this genre is really, really solid.
And
It's
she
fun.
used to work in video games, so
Oh, that
yeah,
tracks.
so she's got a really good grasp on like how to describe the video game so that it makes sense to non-gamers, because like I've never played
I've never played much of anything.
Starcross, is that the name? I don't know.
What?
World of Warcraft, and then there's like
Oh, yeah, it's based off of a couple of...
and like League of Legends, and
Mm-hmm.
like the games that have become, maybe it's Starcraft, Starcross, something, I don't know.
Sounds really
But there's a thing, and that's what she's based her game on. And like I've never played those. I don't know how they work. I can't even remember the names of them. But she made it make sense to me, and that was really impressive.
Yeah, you don't need to be a video game person really to enjoy it. I mean, I'm not really, but virtual reality is, like you said, it described in such a way it makes a lot of sense. And it's also, everything is just so cool. The amount of, you can see everything. The imagery is really present. So, yeah.
It's just a fun world.
It's a fun world, yeah.
So should we go ahead and show all as many books as we can at the same time? Let's see.
Alright.
Let's see if we can do it.
This is our challenge with
Yes.
the video.
I don't know. Should I start doing this? I'll just...
Okay, so this has been the September Speculative September Bookstream.
Yes.
Hopefully you have found a book or two or several that you think you would like to read, because these are all fantastic books.
Read them all.
Yep. It might take you a while, but you should do it. And we will see you on the first Friday in October for spooky horror books.
Yes.
Good October vibes.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, and have a good September.